you couldn't hang out with that person on a personal level, maybe you should not do business with them as well. Because it's kind of like a gut feeling then you have, and then you don't feel used or screwed over, and can build a way easier trust basis. And that it goes on both sides.
Welcome to Transatlantic Titans, the show for Europeans making it big in America. And here is your host, Manny Schoenhuber.
Hello and welcome to Transatlantic Titans, the show about Europeans making it big in America. I am your host, Manny Schoenhuber. And today we have a very special Transatlantic Titan with us, Daniel Dittmar. Daniel, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's dive right in, I'd say, right? So first, obviously, we always want to get to know you. We want to get to know the company you work for a little bit better. So tell us a bit about your background. Who is Daniel? What's your story? What brought you to us today?
Okay. I'm Daniel Dittmar. I'm born and raised in Germany. You hear my dialect, still don't lose it. And I came to the US in year 2000, right after university. I have an education in like a typical German as an apprenticeship, as a mechanic, and then I studied mechanical engineering in Dortmund. And so I'm more north from Germany than most people or most businesses who are mostly in Baden-Württemberg or Bayern or so with industry. So I'm more Ruhrgebiet. You hear that probably a little bit in my German when I talk as well. I have a little slang from there. Like I said, I came directly after university with a company to Wisconsin, worked as an engineering manager. Company provided high-rise storages for printing cylinders. So printing industry, storage systems, retrieval systems, cranes, and transportation for the printing industry. So, and that was based in southern Wisconsin. Worked there for like around 2 years, and then unfortunately they got bankrupt, and I just started.
You bankrupted them? No.
Themselves.
Your salary was too high. Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, but no. And I started just the green card process at that time, and so the only way to legally continue that was same job, same title, same salary, pretty much. So I convinced our competition, that was a company in Huntersville, North Carolina, to hire me and provide, since we had the same customers, that our customers are not sitting on dry land, because the company where I worked for wasn't existing anymore than in the US. So Germany was still, so I was in a liaison for our competition, still serviced our previous customer in the printing industry. And so this way I moved then from Wisconsin to North Carolina, met my wife, got kids. And then I was a lot as a service engineer, traveled quite a bit, and with young kids, and I wanted to stop that or limit the travel exposure a little bit, and found a role at Schaeffler, so in South Carolina. So, and that's my step into automotive industry, unfortunately, where I never can get back out for some reason. And so then I switched to Schaeffler on the other side of Charlotte, North Carolina, and was responsible for prototype manufacturing there. So I was kind of like plant manager for a very small plant, and was handling all prototypes in North America for bearings and engine components, basically what we manufactured there. So it was always manufacturing. Was at Schaeffler, I think 7.5 years, and reached like a peak where you could grow within Schaeffler at that time, because I was missing an MBA at that time. So, and their company policy says vice president up, you need an MBA. So I did that by the side, and did that in an online university in California, but was recruited then out for a company in Tucson, Arizona, completely something different. And it sounded really, really cool, and was right away the vice president there. And what interested me there was all in-house manufacturing. So they did everything there in-house, very little purchase components and parts. So, and the company was called PSE Archery, or somebody who was a bow hunter or hunting, a German word, Flitzebogen, more or less. But again, very interesting, because from a manufacturing part, right? I had multiple plants there, like around 500 people, 500 employees there. So it went up quite a bit too. And everything from manufacturing, marketing, painting, anodizing. So really the whole spectrum was under my responsibility then there. But it was my first true American company. And it was quite challenging, I would say. What hire and fire mentality, I had a hard time with, honestly. What the owner there said, oh, wrong t-shirt, I don't like it. Out. and those mindset there didn't really work well with me, and coming from Europe. And I was liked there a lot by the owner, but I thought there's one day he might not like me with my decisions, and then I'm the next.
So
So
be careful what t-shirt you're wearing.
exactly. So, I mean, it was also very interesting, but then, yeah, my wife was not very happy in Arizona, honestly, because it was everything. You open the window, dust layer from the desert on there. And then came the opportunity. An old friend from Schaeffler, who was now the CEO in the Chicago area, needed support there. And the company was called Wittgenstein. And they needed a replacement for the son-in-law from Mr. Wittgenstein, who was previously in the US. And so I moved to Chicago, started at Wittgenstein as a COO. A very cool company. I learned tremendous amount. It's also family owned, German again. Very structured, very, very anal about their marketing strategy and their corporate identity. So really I learned a lot and loved it as well.
German.
And German, right? And very innovative. I mean, that was very exciting there. I mean, I would say that we had a lot of authority in the US specifically at that time. I must say at that time, what I knew. And so we could do a lot of quick decisions, quick implementations. So what I really enjoyed. But if you've ever been in Chicago, you were 6 months trapped in a house. You don't see barely your friends. You can't do anything outside. And like I said, I met my wife. My kids are born in the Charlotte area, and we wanted to come back to Charlotte at some point. And then I think 4 years later, or 5 years later, came the opportunity, an automotive company again, unfortunately, in Charlotte. We're looking for a general manager, CEO, and they offered something I couldn't refuse financially wise. So it was really, really, really interesting at that time. Even I hated to leave Stein, kind of like was a family there. And but we wanted to come back to Charlotte where kind of like we're dating and stuff like that. So it was also a little bit in that way. So I started at that automotive company, and 2 months after I started, they were a German company as well. But 2 months after I started, they were purchased in Germany from a Chinese company. So and that didn't go really well, honestly. And so I did not see I really with my philosophy how I would lead the company and the Chinese owner. And we separated then like right after a year. I was there, luckily, honestly, because I started there in 2009. We separated beginning of 20, and it couldn't be better.
Remember something.
Exactly. And it couldn't have worked out better for me. And like I said, we separated, but my contract went through the whole year of 2020 still, but didn't really have to be there anymore. So it was really exciting time during COVID shutdown of the automotive industry, where I collect my salary and could sit at home. So it was awesome.
Perfect timing.
Sometimes I was
Perfect.
lucky.
Yes.
No, but I'm a person. I don't sit at home and stuff like that. So I was financially safe then during that time, but I'm not somebody who sits at home and does nothing. So I started then, the only thing during COVID, I started with Amazon, right? So, and as a
Nice.
I couldn't be doing in a management position at that time because, I mean, I had still my contract with my employer there, but I could do anything else what wasn't management. And so I helped out at Amazon, and it was super interesting. Like for me, I'm a hands-on guy, so I wanted to see the warehousing there, how they manage that, and I experienced that. So I was hired by one of their subsidiaries to support them with like a little 5S here, how they park their cars, what row goes first. And I did some packages delivery, kind of like, and the most interesting part was kind of like Undercover Boss, if you know that show, and sometimes I had to be very careful what I say, and I say, I have to cut the grass on my house or something to a coworker, and he said, "Do you have a house?" Because I was because I was on that level where delivery drivers mostly work. But it was kind of like super interesting, and I really learned still a lot on how to use the app. They had an automatic Gamba walk on their app. Everybody was tracked by their performance, so super fair, honestly. And what I sometimes wish I would have in my plans, So it was really good. I mean, to see. And then during that time, I had found employment then with HEYCO, where I am now. And when my contract was over with the previous employer, I could be management again, and started then in November of 2020 with HEYCO.
Okay, nice. Before we talk about HEYCO for a little bit, about your current role and the company as such, I think what I find really interesting about your story is trying to follow it geographically on the
Mhm.
American map.
Once
Because
around.
yes, and really you're hitting all the geographic areas, geographic regions that are so popular with European companies, right?
Mhm.
Expanding to the US. You're talking about the Wisconsin, so the Midwest. You're talking about the Carolinas. You're talking about Arizona, although that was an American company you worked with. You could throw Texas and Florida into the mix, and you pretty much have all the states covered that
Yeah,
are
yeah,
relevant for European companies, right? So you've seen it all, I guess, over the
yeah.
years.
Texas, I know will make my in-laws are from Texas, so I'm quite a bit there.
There you go. There you go. Now you've covered them all pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So that I find very interesting. But let's talk about HEYCO Werk a little
Yeah.
bit
Okay.
and the company. So you said you're currently based in the Carolinas, correct?
No, no. Our headquarters here in the US is in Virginia, Emporia, Virginia.
Correct. But you personally you travel between, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
And
I live in Charlotte, outside of Charlotte, and originally the plan was to relocate in the Richmond area, but I must say it worked out really well at the beginning to commute. So I mean, it's a 4-hour drive, and I leave my house like Monday mornings at 4, be here at 8, be all week here in an apartment first, and then leave either Thursday nights or Fridays at lunchtime, roughly. So and I'm be back. What made that work really good was I don't have family here, honestly, in Virginia, in our plant, meaning I had no stress like, hey, I don't have to go to soccer practice. I don't have to go to dinner, So when I came home on the weekends, I had all my work done, because it didn't matter if I work until 6, 7, 8, or 10, right? I have nothing here to do, and other than finishing my work. So that really, I think, was beneficial and why it worked, right? So I can really come home on the weekends and be done. Where in my position, normally there's no weekend, really,
yeah,
and
so talking about that, for the record, what is your role or position that you have at HEYCO?
okay, I'm the CEO and president from North America here. So
Okay.
that's,
Yeah. Just for the record.
yeah, okay. So there's no weekend, really. Yeah.
There's no weekend.
But
I
but
know
but
that
again,
feeling.
now it's limited, right? Right, because I can pretty much get all my stuff done during the week. Whatever I want to get done, I can. There's again no pressure. There is no, hey, I have to leave early to this or that, and I think that made it work. And for the fact that I never really moved in those, I mean, I'm here now nearly 5 years or over 5 years now, actually, and but that made me not move at that time, because it was really working well, and yeah, it was a little problem with my kids, but we're also upper high school. So there's not so much I needed to do. And if I had to go to a game or something like that, I'm just 4 hours away. For America, that's not a lot of distance. You
Right.
can drive that real quick.
Right. Yeah. And as the saying goes, it sounded like your kids were taken care of well. They didn't need you at home every night, although
No,
you
no, I mean,
probably enjoyed doing that.
no.
No,
And like
great.
I
But
said, if it's needed, it's just 4 hours.
yes.
I mean, for Europeans, it sounds a lot. I mean, here, you put cruise control on and you really sit for 4 hours. It's not like it's mainly a stressful drive through rush hour traffic or so. I mean, it's just interstate.
Do you think this is something that maybe European companies considering an expansion to the US or maybe a relocation from one state to another may underestimate sometime? Really, the distances that obviously, if you sit in Berlin, for example, or let's talk about North Rhine-Westphalia, you go in your car, you drive for 4 hours westward, you're almost in Paris, it almost feels like,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So do you think that's something that could or sometimes is underestimated by European companies?
Yes, yes, definitely. It's hard. But if you time it right, you have to be the person for that, I think. You need to like driving. I live in my car, kind of like, but I take advantage of that in a way where it worked with a German company. Because let's say I leave Monday mornings at 4. Germany's already awake, the 6-hour normal time difference. I can do business calls and it's not boring. I have something to do there, right? So I can do the first conference calls, talk with friends, talk with my parents or my mom, because I moved that from the weekends to Monday mornings because I'm in the car anyway. So I can talk with her easy an hour doing the drive. So it's not that hard. And on the way back, you can attend to the American friends and works as well really well. So it's not very exhausting in that way. I mean, you have to get up early, but
you make it work. Right?
I made it work. And I have several of my employees here who do kind of similar something. So my quality manager comes from Huntsville, Alabama here. It's something at 16 hours or so. He does it every 2 weeks in a rotation, and he often flies, but sometimes he drives as well because it's much more cost effective. Project manager sits in Chattanooga, also very far away from Virginia. So he drives. He's not so much needed in the plant every week, but when he comes, same thing. So to find really good talent, I think that's also key to allow that in a way where, hey, you have to find the right person who's willing to commute that way, and the family situation have to match that. If they don't get support from their family and have to be in trouble then and have to be home every night or like to be home every night, that doesn't work, right?
It's a very interesting point, and I think very crucial point that you're bringing up right now, because I see that with many of my clients where the general manager, CEO, president, because of a family decision to live in one area, or they are from one area, but the job just took them somewhere else. They have this openness to commute and be on the job site Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, and then hop on the plane or get on a 4, 5, 6 hour car or maybe even bus ride home to the family. Do you think that is, and I know we're moving around a little bit and I want to get back to the company as such, but do you think this is also one thing that may be different for American workers as compared to Europeans, of that openness to commuting this far?
Yeah, definitely.
The difference is different.
Yeah, actually, the two persons I talked with about were also Germans.
Yeah.
In this case, but yeah, I think the willingness is there. I mean, for commuting, I think you have to commute more. But the Americans are also quicker to switch jobs, I think, than Germans. Like the how tight you're connected with, especially in family-owned companies, special with German people, I would say, or more intense than in the US because they're not used to that so much. Like I said, when I did my apprenticeship or something, there's mostly dad and son, right? And father and son or something. And it meant something when the father brought his son to the same workplace, meaning you don't screw up and you get not just trouble from your supervisor, but also from your dad, and I don't think that's so common in today's time anymore. Oftentimes, that the family members bring the other family members, but it speaks for the company. I mean, it's a highest honor, I would say, if somebody brings the family to work. It means we do something right, that they would even bring their family members to as well.
I agree. So let's talk about HEYCO for a second. You already mentioned it a few times, but the global headquarters, so to speak, they are in Germany, right?
Yes. We are headquarters in Remscheid, founded, I think, 1937. We are now in the third generation. Owners are Markus Heinen and his sister and his dad, basically the three family members, shareholders. So, and Markus and his sister have the higher value. The dad stepped a little bit operative out from an operations point. Is Markus Heinen in charge basically now of the company? He handles operations worldwide.
And for anyone who doesn't know what HEYCO does, what does the company do?
So we are having several business units. So HEYCO comes, main history, from quality hand tools, if somebody doesn't know that. So was our bread and butter in the past. So wrenches, pliers, hammers, really like that. And we started to provide onboard tools for vehicles, right? So for BMW or Mercedes, in those categories, had like your little jack and the power bar to change your tires. HEYCO started with those with forging plants. So we do metal forging in Europe and still we do that. So we have the hand tools quality hand tools. Then we have forged metal parts. And our bread and butter now switched to plastic injection molding. And we got into that because when you think about the handle on a screwdriver was in the past wood, right? So now we had to change it to plastic. So then we got into plastic, and now plastic moved more further, and now we mainly do only plastics. So in the US, we only do plastic injection molding, but also I'm a distributor for the hand tools, but very, very little. Main business for HEYCO worldwide is now plastic injection molding in the automotive industry.
Okay. And how many employees do you guys have globally?
Around 1,300, and I have 120, 130 in the US.
And so that our viewers, our listeners can get a good idea, obviously, as much as you feel comfortable sharing. Is there any kind of global revenue numbers that you guys publish, or kind of a broad range that so the companies or our audience knows?
I mean, it's family owned, nothing is published, but we are between like 200 million to 500 million range, I would say, worldwide. And in the US, I'm between 20 and 50.
That's nice. That's great. That's great. So congrats on that. And the customers, when you're looking at your typical customers, obviously you already mentioned it, but sounded like more B2B type of customers than the B2C, right?
Absolutely. I mean, on the hand tools, we have some customer, business to customer, but the other one is business B2B. It's mainly. B2B.
And when you're looking at your customers, I would say globally as well as locally, where are most of them based? Or
Germany as well. I think we are a huge supplier for the automotive OEMs, mainly the German ones. In the US, I only have German ones, so it's like the ones in Spartanburg and the ones in Chattanooga I have. So currently here, but also the US plant is relatively new. We must mention that too. So yeah. And in Europe, we have also all the other ones as well.
So let's look at the US market and your US operations a little closer. Do you know how long the US subsidiary has been around, or how long there was official business operations in the US?
Yeah, absolutely. We got incorporated in 2014 and had a small service or sales office in the Spartanburg area there at that time, and got awarded some business and didn't have any manufacturing in the US. So HEYCO was looking then for a partner who manufactures parts, like injection molded parts for them, and found a partner in Virginia here. But they got bankrupt in 2019. Or end of 18. Right when the production started, and then kind of like HEYCO was forced by its customers to say, hey, you better buy the place and keep it running, otherwise you shut us worldwide down. And then HEYCO bought this plant here where I'm in right now in Virginia within 2 months without having a plant.
That's awesome.
So I wasn't part of that at the time, but it was very challenging, I assume, having that deal for not planned, having manufacturing in the US, no idea of any people in the US or culture, and not prepared, and suddenly have a manufacturing operation. And our plant here is 65,000 square feet, so it's not necessarily very small. They bought that in February 2019, right? And we all know what hit then. I mean, it was not COVID yet, but so our headquarters started to send all the German experts over and try to implement SAP and processes out of Germany. And that was more or less, as far as I can see now, less successful, because end of the year COVID hit and nobody could travel anymore. Right. And there was only 2 management positions filled domestically here in the US. So we had an HR and we had an operations specialist, I would call them there. So nobody else. Everything was then managed out of Germany because travel restrictions. And that didn't go really well, honestly, because it was too slow. Decision making was too slow, I think, what I can see now. So, and I was then hired end of, like I said earlier, I started here end of 20 to see what we can do. And I would say it took good 6 months to get that back on track, honestly, with common sense. Okay, we do it this way and that way, and then we were back on track, I would say. Not good, but back on track.
So since you just mentioned that, I'd like to ask you about one thing. How important do you think it is to have this local boots on the ground? In German, we will probably say Stadthalter, local management. While, yes, I understand with modern day technologies, you can probably coordinate things a lot more efficient than 20, 30 years ago, but how crucial do you think it still is to successful US operations to have the local decision-making, quick, fast, efficient decision-making on this side of the Atlantic rather than from Europe or Germany?
It's crucial. It's the most important thing. I mean, if you're not on site, at least for our business, like if you're in something in manufacturing, what I can speak for, you have to be on site. I see that now, I mean, we didn't come to that yet. We just expanded into Charlotte to our second plant, right, in the summer. And I see that when I'm in the other plant or in this plant, I'm missing something. Yeah, you can have Teams meetings and all that stuff and can be informed. It's different than if you walk by yourself the floor, and we have still a size where I can do that, right? We have very flat hierarchy here, and I'll be not the micromanager, absolutely not, but I'll be involved to provide ideas or make quick decisions with my team here. And I think that's the most crucial, to do that real quick. And be successful with that. You don't need long-term discussions, meetings, approvals. Do kind of like when I mentioned earlier, we had a Gemba walk or so. You go with a plant manager, go Gemba walk. Okay, do it. I need 3 more people, and if you have then to get approval from Germany because you maxed out your headcount or something. With HEYCO, it's a little different. I don't have a maxed headcount, right? I look financially my result, and it doesn't really matter if I have 10 people or 100 people, so long I'm financially good, right? So because in the US is also you have to have they don't get paid when you're not here, right? So I don't have 0 sickness. There's no sick days, right? If you're not coming, you don't get paid. So simple, right? So my headcount is generally a little bit higher, but some people don't show up. Some people quit early or so, meaning they don't also get paid. Meaning just because I have a headcount of 120 doesn't mean I have a certain amount of money, right? And then you can send them also theoretically home of lack of work if you really don't have anything to do. What's all legal as well. So the flexibility here with the workforce is just different there, right? So you cannot take that over one-to-one, or I cannot hire somebody, or I don't have somebody in my budget. If you need somebody, then you need a good decision quick. And sure, inform or discuss it with Germany as well. But I think the trust is there that I don't just put a bunch of unused staff here, right? What just costs money, yeah, I would say that's one of the most important things, that you have boots on the ground here, make quick decisions and decisions that make sense for that location, not necessarily what the corporate guidelines say, if that makes sense, or a KPI.
And don't you also think the real benefit, obviously without tooting your own horn, I'll do that for you, but don't you think the real benefit with a president, CEO like you, who has been here in the US, who probably has Americanized to a certain extent when it comes to how to run a business, how to run operations, how to run local employees, you have this understanding, yet you can also look to Germany because you're from there originally, you know how the Germans think and act, rather than coming over from Germany, trying to set this whole manufacturing plant up, and then you're wondering why nobody wants to sign an employment agreement, or why nobody wants to stick around with all the benefits that you're providing. Don't you think that is one of the key benefits, and or maybe even key requirements in positions like the ones you have?
Yeah, I would say it's a key requirement. If I don't know the mentality, and it sounds sometimes really hard when you say, oh, then we send the people home, or when we don't have lack of work or something and they don't get paid. But that's a culture here, unfortunately, and then if you live in this country, you're used to it. It's in my position the same thing. There's no job security, more or less, and it's a hire and fire. I mean, that's what it is. But that doesn't mean you have to do that, I mean, it doesn't mean that, but you can, and everybody has the same right, but it's all the same on every level as well. So yes, and for that you have to adjust. And my experience, I mean, I see the other companies, they have then talk about work-life balance and this and a pool table in the office and stuff like this. All great, but I don't think I can attract talent by having those things there. Does it make it more attractive? Absolutely, sure, right? But if somebody decides for me and somebody else because I have that or not, like a pool table or a cornhole, or I can play ping pong during lunchtime, for our industry, not, I would say, because automotive manufacturing is too fast paced, where we don't have, honestly, the luxury to take those long breaks, if you would call it, and it wouldn't make a difference in my team here, I would say.
So maybe not cash is king, but still pay is king, the salary is king. Or the overall outlook when it comes to obviously job advancements, but not necessarily the side benefits, more the, you
It,
show
it
me what you
depends.
got today.
It depends really. I think it really depends. I mean, you have to have, it's industry specific. My experience is that when I have like a little bit higher level project management, first tier management, supervisor level, um, cash for sure is always king, but also benefits in there, at one point, because when they can appreciate how good then some benefits are. And I must say, HEYCO, I work with the benefits and try to see it from my point of view, what would I like to have, and that what also the employees give. And I think we have one of the best packages that I know in the US I mean, we are good there. It's maybe not the cheapest for the employees for HEYCO, but I think we have one of the best, what I feel like. I think I have now one of the best in my career within the US, I would say, so far. And that's what I would like to give also to my employees. But on the other hand, I maybe have to pay a little bit less base salary on some. And some will understand that, who appreciate that and see how difficult it is for benefits in the US. And it's something you can't get on your own, everybody. But if you go then on a lower level, on an operator level, there's only cash is king, because a lot of them don't even want the benefits. I mean, they have that too.
Maybe that is that, let's call it secret transatlantic sauce, right? Where you're combining maybe the best of both worlds and make it work for the American market, because maybe the classic American manager doesn't even know that the benefits of a good benefits program that you may enjoy in Germany or other countries in Europe.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with the salary standards that American workers get to enjoy. Maybe that is where the secret transatlantic sauce lies.
Yeah. I just was recently talking with some CEOs from a German company who are looking to start a business in the US. And first thing came, the salary is so high. And I don't know if it's really, if you look one-to-one, it's probably higher than in the US, the base salary.
Than
But
in Germany.
like I said, you don't have 6 weeks vacation. It's not the standard in the US. I think the most, what standard is, I think 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks, meaning somebody on a lower level starts maybe with 2, or 3. Most of my employees don't know any different, because if they're Americans. So because it's still a great benefit from them. And you can offer still also unpaid vacation, also for salaried staff. Always saying, hey, you start with 2 weeks and you have another 2 weeks unpaid if you want it. People take that too then. And in addition, sick days, like I said, I don't have sick people here. I mean, if they're sick, I don't pay, or they don't get paid, meaning they don't affect the operations, except they're missed, but really sick, like Germany sometimes has 6% people out sick, or 10%, or what sometimes you hear, and you still have to pay them then. I mean, that's crucial for an operation, and we don't have that. And then the benefits, like I said, we offer them, but a lot of people don't want them for some reason, because let's say, the retirement, we have also a great match there, but not a lot of people take that, honestly, for whatever reason. They don't want it. They don't choose it because they say, no, I don't want to save 6%, and then the company gives me maybe 6 or 5. I want all my salary. I don't want to take 6% out or 3%. They don't want to save anything. They don't look that
money.
far. I mean, but they don't want to save by themselves anything, so meaning I don't have to pay the other matching part either. Not because I don't want to, I would like to, but I want to give them a security in retirement, but a lot of them, they don't choose it.
Right.
So when you, and if you compare all that, I don't know if the salary is much different. Then holidays is another thing, because that goes in your salary. If in our company has also a location outside of Passau, they have, I think, 17 holidays in addition. In the
Public
US,
holidays, yes.
you can pretty much choose as an organization how many you want to give. And HEYCO has now around 10, so we gave 10. What's more than, I think the standard is 8. So
maybe that's a very sometimes provocative question, but I'd like to ask it regardless, since in your position as a president and CEO of the company, you're having that decision-making authority. Do you prefer that flexibility? And obviously, it's also from a legal perspective, as a lawyer, always interesting to hear what you think. Do you think it's actually a benefit or an advantage that you may have to have this flexibility, or would you rather see a more European system where the government pretty much tells you, oh, you have to provide X, Y, Z, and these are the legal parameters, and there's no deviation. You have to go with what we're ordering you to do. From your perspective, what do you think drives maybe better decision making or more competitiveness in the market?
I think it needs to be a good combination. The minimum, I would say, is okay when the government dictates that, like the general holidays like Easter, maybe Christmas and stuff like that, what the foundation is of that country. I mean, like for the US, like I said, a general thing, yes. But then you need to look also, I would say, a little bit to the region you're in always. I would say what population you have. If you go to, let's say to the West Coast, is maybe more Hispanic population. I mean, probably your staff would like to have off Cinco de Mayo or something, right? It's more important for them, and it brings a better benefit if you can give that as a holiday than you do Good Friday. For example, I don't know. I mean, it depends a little bit what your staff desires, and if you have the flexibility, you can adjust to that. So you make your employees way more happy when you can have a little flexibility there, right? In those special holidays, what for the most population is there. And what we came up with here is another, what is very successful, what the people love here is, we call it My Day, right? Because we wanted to give one more day than the normal holidays, meaning everybody has a holiday on their birthday. So it's right. So, and if it's on the weekend, then it's a day before or the day after, but it's set in stone. So everybody has their birthday off, basically. So to provide an extra holiday, and something different that maybe not everybody has, and in this region where we are, people seems to love that. For me personally, I don't need to have that, but my employees, they really like the My Day, for example.
That's a great idea. And I think that also shows the creativity that employers sometimes have to provide or show to the market, right?
Yeah.
Because not one size fits all model works in the US.
Yeah, and good is that for our operation, not everybody is going at the same time, so that makes for manufacturing operations pretty simple or beneficial for both sides, right? I have them 1 or 2 people out that day for their holiday, instead of have to shut down my operations completely.
Yeah, let's talk about manufacturing for a little bit. Last summer, or this summer actually, summer 2025, you opened up your second location in the Charlotte area, correct?
Yeah. We
Yeah,
built
so
their second location with 65,000 square feet as well. Yeah.
so what I'm curious about is obviously the first location is in Virginia, the Richmond area. Other than maybe you having close ties to the Charlotte area, was there any conscious decision making about why this area could make sense, or why as a whole the Carolinas are very attractive?
Yeah, certainly. I did first. I mean, we were looking at several years before that, and I was actually using kind of like a location scout, something like that for that. But I found out real quick, it's not in the benefit of what the company really needs. Honestly, it's more in the benefit, where are the biggest incentives? They would find that, and not the best location necessarily. The best location for incentives, but not for our company. Right. And if anybody is familiar with how that works, is normally the top 3 incentive packages that you have to pay, then the location scout, the average for that. At least that was kind of like that. And I thought, wow, they pick then I get a gigantic maybe tax relief or something, or I got that in Virginia here as well. We expanded here something, and I did it by myself. So I got, for example, grants for railroad and harbor. I don't use a railroad and I don't use a harbor really, but I got the incentives. And then I thought, then I have to pay those people a portion of that, what I cannot even use eventually, or what it doesn't bring any benefit to me. So when I did that first, then there came locations out where I said, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then our business didn't allow that anyways for the expansion. And then we got 2 years later, a gigantic package, what required more machines, and they didn't fit here in Virginia, so we needed to expand. So what I did then is I started to search myself, kind of like, and I thought, hey, we're automotive business, plastic injection molding. Where are my customers, right? So there was Spartanburg, Chattanooga at the time. Then it's Charleston, maybe there in that area, and Tuscaloosa, maybe in that bigger area there. So, and then I thought, hey, me as an employee, where would I like to live? Right? Okay, I live in Charlotte. Great, is out. Where else? Atlanta. Then you have maybe Greenville, Spartanburg area. What's attractive? Then you have Columbia, South Carolina. Then you have Charleston, probably. Miami, but it's too far off from my customers. Houston is maybe okay, but it's also maybe too far off from the Carolinas, where a lot of customers are. So Greensboro was another one, or a little bit more metropolitan areas, basically, right? And if you're in the automotive market, in the long time ago, where let's say BMW moved to Greenville, there was nothing. So they brought all the people there. Mercedes did the same in Tuscaloosa, right? In the middle of nowhere, they built a gigantic plant, and suddenly businesses came to them. I think the times changed now, where you have to go where the employees are. So, and that's why we were looking for metropolitan areas. So I looked at Atlanta. I looked like all the cities where we talked about. But then I thought also, okay, Atlanta, Rivian is building a big plant, at least was announced, and their thing. So I'm number 2 as a small one, always, right? Greenville, Spartanburg, I'm always number 2 or 3 or even way, because BMW is there. Then Columbia is Scout Motors now. Charleston is Mercedes vans and Volvo. So everywhere, these bigger cities is already a gigantic automotive industry. And regardless if my benefits on my pay is equal or better, employees would still go to that brand, right? Because they have a different brand, and unfortunately HEYCO has it in this time, right? So myself, I would say, hey, where do you want to work? I mean, I'm proud to work at BMW or Tesla or something like that. So that's basically why we chose Charlotte. A, it was good in the market, and B, it was a metropolitan area, and there is not a big of automotive industry around what could compete with the branding of the factory, kind of like, So that's why we chose it. And the benefit, I lived there quite some time. So I knew the area good enough where I can pinpoint even the area in the Charlotte area. If you go, let's say, in the inner city, that's banking. There's nothing for manufacturing, right? So you need to go a little bit on the outskirts. You go to the south, there's Schaeffler real big, and Continental and all those. So unfortunately, I know the area. So, so I could pick really, hey, where's exactly those employees within the 30-minute radius, let's say, for commuting, where we should locate,
Right.
That's why we picked that, actually. And then I did a decision matrix and stuff like that, where to go and what, with all the other locations as well. But that came out.
And let's call it the site selection process from start to finish here in the US. Did you find it to be a very difficult process, a very easy, straightforward process? If yes, let's consider incentives. Maybe let's consider some of the permitting that you had to do, employee availability that you already said, or do you have the resources that you need? Obviously, you may be in a much better position having been around in the US for quite some time and knowing that area. But overall, how would you describe that process? If I was a company decision maker now, thinking about maybe setting up my first plant in the US or an expansion plan, how would you approach that and your overall sentiment toward doing that?
I would rely on good partners. I had good partners, friends, and business partners who helped me with that, actually. For example, I have realtors who guided me in the right direction, and saying, oh, stay away from this county because the approval is too long or very complicated, right? Or, hey, our experience here, you have to get a permit for a shelf to put it up, in this county, not. Is it a deal breaker? No, but something you could consider, right? And so I worked with local brokers and advised me then a little bit on that as well. So what could really help making a better decision, right? And you really need to click with somebody. It's kind of like when you for the people who are in the US, bought a house, right? If you have a realtor you don't like or you don't see yourself as a buddy with, don't buy a house from them. I mean, that's the thing. If you need to click with the people, because I mean, they need to understand you. And I always say, hey, if you couldn't hang out with that person on a personal level, maybe you should not do business with them as well if you don't have to, right? I mean, because it's kind of like a gut feeling then you have, and then you don't feel used or screwed over, and can build a way easier trust basis, and that it goes on both sides. I think when you click really good with friend or partner who can help you with that, and you can build a long-term trust. I think that would help me actually in that process. Yeah.
So maybe it's not only teamwork as such, but teamwork all toward the common goal and
Mhm.
maybe having a good time
Yeah,
while
yeah,
doing
absolutely.
it because you
You
all
have
get
to
along.
Right, you have to have fun with that project, and it's enjoyable for everybody. Teamwork, absolutely, but again, if you pay somebody or hire somebody who finds you the best spot, my experience is that it helps definitely a little bit, but again, our motivation was not getting these gigantic incentives because we're too small for that. Everybody gets a standard package anyways when you just asked for it. We could negotiate some stuff on our own as well if it's certain level. If you make a business decision for one-time incentives, you have really to look at it. For example, South Carolina is right at the border to us. They have a better package than North Carolina normally in general. But North Carolina's package is longer. South Carolina's is very high and falls and slowly down what the incentives you get. And the North Carolina, as far as for us, was more level. And then if you start a business, you don't have very high income anyways at the beginning because you start up, right? So what does it bring me 100% tax break for the first 2 years where I make losses probably anyways, right? With a new facility, so those things is not necessarily, if you think about it, the best incentives, so maybe after 5 years you get that. So if you revert it, right? So that worked better for us. And again, the decision on the location where you move should not be on incentives based, I think.
Yes, I
It's
couldn't
it's
agree
it's
more.
like having a bonus at an employment, right? It's good to have, but it's not something you need or can expect always.
Yes, I always tell companies, clients, whenever I assist them in the site selection negotiations or the entire process from a legal perspective, don't make a decision based on the incentives that are offered, right? Or because
Right.
of the incentives that are offered. And most of the time, the geographic area, the county, the city that offers you the highest incentives, that's probably where you don't want to end up being
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
various reasons.
I mean, for example, land you can get sometimes for free. I mean, I had also some offers that sent me a factory there, but it's in the middle of nowhere where nobody wants to be. I mean, you would never get employees, and it's that comes then back in the mind the distance. Then it's really a problem again. I mean, then you will have a hard time, and you see then, and it's not just the distance for the employees, then it's your deliveries, right? I mean, here in Virginia we have that already. I mean, we're an hour south of Richmond. Yeah, like the mail service doesn't come every day here, and it's a city on the interstate. I mean, it's still, but, Amazon cannot have a 6-hour delivery like in Charlotte. They have it in stock and have every package basically delivered in 6 hours. Here sometimes you have to wait 3 days until the Amazon. So that's a difference. UPS or Saturday delivery in Virginia, not in our plant here, not available. And some critical stuff is not available then if you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, maybe to also give the full picture about your plant now. Was that a ground up build? Did you guys build it? Did you acquire something? Is it a lease? Kind of what's the setup there? And maybe why did you decide to go the way that you ultimately went with?
So there was a very, very interesting story, basically. So we came over, our owners came over and says, hey, yeah, we need to expand somewhere. We could do it here in Virginia. We have plenty of land. So even we own land, or the owner owns the land here. But we didn't have enough cash, basically, to put a plant here. And we are not long enough. Like I said, we got the first manufacturing plant in 2019 we bought here, and invested a lot. So we are not on that level where we can go to the bank. Hey, I want 12 to 15 million just for the building, because the first years we also did our tax returns to the 𝗧𝗥𝗔𝗡𝗦𝗧𝗟𝗔𝗡𝗦 still in Germany, meaning the banks cannot use that here in the US, so you don't get a loan. So now we switched over to US GAAP format and have that all established slowly. But again, I couldn't get last year a $12 million plus loan for a plan. So the owner says, yeah, Daniel, you can do it, but I can't help you. So I said, what? And like I said earlier, I had good friends, partners, networking, and they helped me really through that process. From broker, they found a good developer who would work with us, and also a general contractor. Very happy. I mean, that was Edifice, was my general contractor. Very recommended. I had absolutely zero problems with them. Bastian was my broker. So super guys there, and the Marlboro was the developer, Marlboro Development. And they offered, hey, we put you the plant there and you do a lease to own, basically, so no cash out. So it's awesome for us. So they put the plant there. The only thing what I can control is, I can pick basically everything there. And they worked with me to stay within my rent budget or lease to own budget, kind of like at the first 15 years, So we wanted to stay there, and they worked really well with me to say, hey, if you want this goes higher up. If you don't want it, if you want marble floors, or that, it goes up. Standard is this.
Only in your
something
office.
like that.
Only in your office.
Yeah. No, and that worked really, really well. I mean, and became really not just partners there, also friends. I mean, I must say that, because like I said before, you had to trust each other, within that. I had to trust them that they put me the plan there and don't go over budget, because then I would have another problem there if I can't pay later the lease to own rent, right? So it's everything set in stone. We have it set for, like I said, for 15 years. We have a buyout price. We have the increase already on the whole term, inflation calculated, everything is in there. So we know exactly where everybody is in the 15 years. The Germans was a little bit tricky because we're a mid-sized, small family company who normally owns stuff. So it was like a little bitter pill for them to swallow, not being the owner of the building first time, but they saw the benefits were, hey, no cash out first, right? And it's still our way. Everything is still made like it would be ours. Only the financial part is different. So, and like I said, with permits, everything, we did the groundbreaking in June 24, moved in June 25, with everything from groundbreaking up. All permits done, and it's amazing. And so it's easier to put a plant here than buying a machine in Europe, honestly.
Can you
The machines I
elaborate
bought,
on that?
I had more trouble with the machines I bought, and more meetings and more escalations and delays with the machine I bought, even if it's a standard injection molding machine.
That is, I'm not hearing that for the first time, let me put it this way, but it is a bit shocking, isn't it?
No, but because it was also their quick decision making. They said, hey, we have a problem, the tile is not available. I say, okay, what do you have available? Oh, this one or that one, They showed me two options. Okay, left, done, and then it was done, and things like that.
Yes. It probably goes back to the independent or qualified independent decision-making authority that you discussed earlier, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was with several. I mean, chiller, for example. Say we bought a chiller system for the plant. Same thing, as he said, oh, the chiller has too long lead time. We can't make it in timing. You can buy a step up, a step down. That's immediately available. So make a decision, kind of like, right? And again, could decide that within, do we want to step up or is one size smaller? And those decisions were then made super quickly, what didn't require a big meeting or budget recalculation. We just talked and I say, okay, this is $10,000 more. We have to save it somewhere. Where can we save it?
So since you've done it, I guess the real question is, would you do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I partial with Wittgenstein we added on, and it was kind of like it was more brown field. But here, the Greenfield, I never did before either. But I would do it with those partners. I mean, alone, that's too much, right? But if you have really good partners who know what they do, and like I said, I had the broker who advised me on several things, and also challenged the general contractor. The general contractor challenged the developer, and vice versa. And then the county, they put all pressure on the county, and then I stepped in and say, hey, if you don't approve this quick enough, then we go somewhere else or do something else, right? And and together as a team, I think with the whole group, we were successful. Also, the county was part of it, and they were part of the success as well, and helped us with changing stuff, for example, rezoning from certain areas, right? And say, hey, the land was 15 acres. I say, I don't want to pay for 15 acres. And then I say, either you give me a discount or what are other options? And I say, oh, we can rezone it. They can take all the common areas where like water catching and stuff like that. They took that out and worked with me on that. And suddenly it was only 10 acres, but fully usable. So both had the benefit, I still got the land, what is 100% usable, and they did the sale.
Don't you think this is a crucial, maybe also difference in approach to doing business in the US versus maybe what we're known from in Europe, more about enabling companies to do certain things rather than, I don't want to say hindering, but prolonging a process of doing some things? Or maybe asked a different way, do you think you could have gone through the same 1 year process from start to finish, breaking ground till moving in only 1 year, had you decided to expand in Remscheid, for example?
No, definitely not. No, and you need to look at Scout, for example, how big company that is. How long did they build now in Colombia? 4 years since groundbreaking, I think. They're still not done, because it's a bigger organization, right? So they're making it way more challenging for them. And unfortunately, in those larger organizations, you have those decision levels and it takes longer. So at a small and mid-sized company, you can take advantage of those quick decision makings, And yeah, sometimes it's maybe a wrong decision, right? Absolutely, but at least you have a decision. And then you learn from it and never do, hopefully, that again. But it's better having, I would say, a wrong decision than no decision or overthinking that. And then in the end, you have pretty much the same decision, and I think that's
Then
what the
even
benefit
better,
is. No, and definitely, if you see like others, like I said, so they're building for forever. I mean, with the plan. And I wonder always when I see the progress there, I'll say, oh, great progress, but what do you do so wrong?
then maybe even better if the county or the local officials support that and give you these options without a lot of, let's say, fuzz or
Yeah,
regulatory
yeah,
work
yeah.
behind it.
No, every approval from the inspector and stuff like that, it was always really quick, really, really quick. And even if we had roadblocks, like where you had to put the drainage in the road or something we had, and stuff like that, where you needed an engineering decision from the county, even sometimes, even that was fast, I must say. It was also relatively fast. I mean, not longer than a week or something, so,
Yeah,
and
maybe so.
that's
But
pretty much a benefit. There's nobody 3 weeks on vacation here, so you get that, or 6 weeks out sick, so that's a benefit in the US, honestly, because you don't have that necessarily because nobody is that long sick here or has so much vacation.
otherwise they don't get paid, or the
Exactly.
annual sabbatical.
Yeah. Okay. We have some of those. Yeah.
So I guess to close the loop, overall, the expansion and construction was a manageable, I wouldn't call it maybe a pleasant experience, but something that went very well for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pleasant experience. I mean, like I said, I found friends now with the process. What we outside of our project is done, we still stay in contact. We still go out now sometimes. I still can ask them for advice or something. And what also is nice, the service didn't end. Right. I mean, if I have a question now, I mean, the other day we found like a door lock didn't work, the key didn't work or something, like something small like that. They said, oh, I sent you somebody. They still take care of me, even if it's all handed over and stuff like that, because they
Great. That's great. No, I'm glad to hear that. And that is really at the end of the year, at the end of the day, in my idea, what it's all about, right? Because
Mhm.
we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to do business. So even better if you're building those long-term relationships while you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go to the next segment of the show, which is lovingly titled The Core Four.
Next up, the Core Four.
It is, yeah, maybe familiar concept from my book, because as the Core Four, I define the team members for hopefully a successful US business operation. Of course, the lawyer, the CPA, the banker, and the insurance broker, and all the other friends that you just mentioned. But
Yeah.
these are really the same four questions I ask every guest on every episode to help us better understand your journey in the US market and overall what you think makes European companies successful in the US. So let's start with the first of the core four, which is all about challenges. Some challenges that the company has faced in the US market, or maybe how you've tackled them. Can you name a few examples that may also be applicable to other European companies?
Yeah, I would say, like, I think we mentioned that before, the culture. I mean, you need to know the culture. I mean, we are, when I say we, because I consider myself more American now than German necessarily. It's a different mentality than the European one, right? It's more, I live now and not later. I don't make plans so much, honestly. Live now and not later, honestly. Yeah, you think about long-term future certainly as well, but it's blurry still, right? You can still form it. You don't make a plan what happens in 5 years, completely set in stone, like normal German mentality is, oh, I'll do this, then I get my education, then I build a house, then I get married. So here it's kind of like the direction, but it's a windy.
Let's do number 2, which is lessons learned. So with the knowledge you have today, let's say you could actually go back in time, what would you, maybe personally, or you think the company do differently regarding the US operations, the market entry, your expansion, whatever it could be, and what advice would you give European companies with?
Yeah, like I said, I would say to establish something here, trust the American people here, the local people, listening to them and their special needs. I would say, like when we mentioned earlier, okay, my day, something like a special holiday for them, in this area, or like adjust to your cultures. Don't say, okay, our company in Germany has 17 holidays or 15. And these are the holidays. Don't push them on the US people, right? Make it individual for them. Like I said, it's probably for the region even where you are. And you need to find out where's the sweet spot, what your people like and enjoy mostly and appreciate the most. Like in this area, for example, they wouldn't like gym memberships because there's no nice gym memberships here. I mean, in the area where in Virginia, in Charlotte, they would like gym memberships as a benefit. Here they would rather, hey, once a week a pizza instead of a fruit basket. But that's their kind of people what are here, right? In Germany, it's like, oh, we get a nice healthy fruit basket. You punish these people with that. Where I'm here, right? And they don't want that. And they want pizza. So those differences is listen to the local folks, I would say.
Okay. So third question of the core 4, let's talk about the future. What's your outlook or the company's outlook? Maybe even call it a vision for the growth in the US market now that you have your second plant.
My outlook is I need to fill it up. So it's a little bit oversized right now for the business we have. So we have much room to expand. And we have some business to carry it, stuff like that. But I would like to, grow it more. We have also, like I said, mentioned the land. I can double the plant there also. And here in Virginia, we have the current program runs for another 10 years roughly. So then we need to see, I'm a little worried about getting talented people here in Virginia, in the area where I am. I have a lot of long-term staff here. Nearly 65 to 70% are over 25 years with a company here, and I can't replace those. That's why we also expanded to Charlotte, honestly, because in 10 years they're all retired, and I have at least a backup option right now. So when I said earlier, short-term thinking, but this is a long-term thinking, but it's blurry. It can go in every direction, but that's kind of like the outlook here.
Overall, the outlook is still positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then the last question of the core 4, which really I think is more about success factors. So what do you think, having been in the US for all these years now and having been with many different companies over the years in many different geographic areas, what do you think sets successful European companies here in the US apart from the maybe not so successful ones that may never reach their financial potential or even exit the US market again after a few years?
I mean, I can mainly talk from small to mid-sized companies where I mainly worked for, except like maybe Schaeffler. But even with Schaeffler, I was in a smaller plant responsible for that. And I think what made the main difference is quick and independent decision making, right? Without a big hierarchy, you need to have a certain level of authority or autonomy. With HEYCO now, our management is driving. Every plant will be fully independent. For us in the US, is even also the financial part completely independent. Where we have our own accounting, and the only thing what we need to add is sales. We don't have really sales yet in the US, and it's still successful without sales. So sales is the last thing what we add on. That is still done through Germany. So it's maybe also a little different than other companies. They bring first the salespeople here, right? We have first manufacturing here, and then now we have accounting and everything else. We're only missing sales, but everything else is there. So again, the independent, quick decision making and risk, right? Like I said, every decision might not be right and might not be the right one, but at least you have a decision and then you steer correct the way where you want to go.
I like those answers. And let's have a little bit more fun. Next one is going to be quick. We're going to have the rapid fire this or that segment of the show, which essentially is I'm going to ask you 6 questions and you can only pick one answer. So you ready for that?
Okay.
And now, rapid fire, this or that.
Question number 1, early morning meetings or late night strategy session?
Early morning.
Question number 2, suit and tie or business casual?
Business casual.
I can see that. Question number 3.
Have a shirt on.
There you go. Question number 3, office or remote work?
Office.
Question number 4, podcasts or audiobooks? You said you have a long car ride.
Podcast.
Question number 5, city life or countryside?
City life.
Okay, now the final and most important one for you as a German. Question number 6, beer or wine?
I'll take wine now because I'm long enough here. And like you know, I was on Oktoberfest, so I had plenty of beer for now.
Let's do this again in a couple months. Your answer might change, right?
Yeah. No.
Great. So final segment of the show is really about kind of your company's success and you as a person, wrapping things up.
Mhm.
Any big surprises that you either personally had when you came over to the US or now a company that you had about the US market in general?
I mean, it's long ago. I'm 25, nearly 26 years in the US. And I was on business trips before that. So I don't know if there was a big surprise. Not work-wise, really. I mean, I would not say it surprised me because I grew into it. I would say first, like I said, I was a service technician, more level. I traveled a lot of plants, saw that, and the perception maybe of Germans in the US, was a biggest surprise. That everybody tells you, I'm German too. My great grandmother visited once, kind of like, I mean, something like that. That's maybe a big surprise where everybody somehow wanted to be German, or is proud of having German heritage, where in Germany, it's kind of like the opposite. At least when I grew up there, don't want anything to do with somebody from a foreign country, more or less.
So actually positive then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll ask you then this question, given that you've been in the US for so long and so many years, have you picked up any American habits since you came here? Like, for example, you drink your coffee on the go, you use certain slang?
Yes,
Whatever.
I do have my mark here.
Anything you can think of? You do Friday night lights or you go to baseball games, stuff like that, that maybe not
I'm
very
actually not in
typical
sports.
German.
The only kind of like American like I know who doesn't like really sport. I watch still German soccer, but that's it, It's hard to say. I say y'all sometimes because my in-laws are out of Texas, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're necessarily German habits or American habits, I eat American food. I love American food. I don't like German food actually anymore so much. Like chicken wings and stuff like that. It's kind of my favorite food. So that's kind of like American habits, probably. And eating, drinking, living in the car. Yeah, I do that too, kind of like, So, lunch, for example, today, we have an auditor here today in the plant. And I say, okay, can you cater lunch? Okay, I'll get some wings, It's not like, so that's maybe an American habit, I would say.
Nice. So one question that obviously I'm curious to get your thoughts on is, given that your business is somewhat tied to the automotive industry, and there's certain tendency or trends, what do you think are some trends you see that could be shaping the future of the automotive industry, maybe over the next 5-10 years or so?
I mean, it's immobility. I mean, it's probably shaping the world in the automotive industry. US is just far behind that. I mean, from a mentality, I would say, who wants an electric vehicle here? I asked my wife just recently. I say, hey, we need a new car. Why don't you buy an electric? Because she doesn't drive that distances. For me, I can't make it with any vehicle the 250 miles to work, really, right? So only one I know, like a Lucid or something like that has a reach, but a general like an Audi, Mercedes or something, what in that range, they don't have the range. I cannot even make it in one trip to work. And on the way between, there's no charging stations, and so that's not an option for the next years, I would say. And even my wife, as a born, raised Texan, more or less, I don't want an electric vehicle. And I said, but you drive only a short distance. And she said, yeah, but what if I want to go one weekend further away? I said, yeah, take a rental car, right? I have always a solution, but she said, no, that one time a year, that's not worth it for me. So she doesn't want an electric car because she doesn't want to be stranded. So the mindset for true born Americans is guaranteed not there yet. So it will probably not be in the next 5 years in the US with the electric. And luckily, HEYCO's product go either in electric or combustion engine. We do parts for on the outside. So it doesn't matter if it's what engine it is. So for us, it doesn't really matter. But I would say it goes definitely in the direction. I mean, it's also cool to drive an electric vehicle. It's like a race car more or less. And especially when it's a little sporty. So I would like that, but again, the range needs to be there for me.
So mixed emotions about the automotive industry and remains to be seen maybe where we're heading with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for HEYCO USA, it's going good.
Different.
We cater mostly for SUV vehicles, and they boom everywhere, right? We supply not just the US, we supply China and Africa, and the markets boom still. I mean, I have way over plan the call-offs, and it's, knock on wood, going good. Where our German plants who deliver more electric vehicles struggle more.
So if somebody would like to continue this discussion with you, how can they reach you? If you're willing to share what maybe social media platforms, LinkedIn, whatsoever,
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
available.
I'm on the LinkedIn, certainly, and you find me there, definitely. I've also emailed, it's daniel.dittmar@heycousa.com. That's probably the best way to reach me, or social media, you'll find me mostly too there. LinkedIn is probably the best way.
2 final questions I have for you. One goes back to you personally. Any quote or motto that guides you in business and life, anything you live by?
No, it's hard to say. I mean, I just had a cool motto like the other day. So I said, for those who want more, right? So kind of like in that way. So that's kind of like our motto here. Never settle for okay, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't mean you have to be up here, but little steps for those who want more. That fits to me. I want more, even if it's more success, more satisfaction, something like that. So it doesn't have to be monetary always or something like that. I mean, it's nice to have too, but it's not the most important thing, I think.
So final question for today, at least. What is something that currently excites you or interests you in life? Anything that you enjoy personally doing?
I like my work, honestly.
You're hired.
No, but it's really like, it's my hobby as well. I don't have a lot of hobbies, Yeah, I go skiing, I go play soccer sometimes, but really, I love what I do, right? And it's every day a new challenge on something, I love to work with my colleagues here in Virginia, I love to work with the new plant. That really drives me and motivates me tremendously. Sure, certainly I like also my family at home, and when I'm home on the weekends mostly and enjoy that time with them. That drives me too. But I love what I do during the week. So I'm really coming home, like I said earlier, I'm coming home mostly relaxed, ready for my family. And the only thing what the family complains about, oh, you always talk about work. That's all I'm experiencing.
A blessing and a curse, but
yeah, but it's fun. It has to be fun for the person. And that's what I like my employees as well. If it's not fun for you, you might not be the right one for us.
I think there couldn't be better ways to end this show, this episode. So Daniel, I really enjoyed our discussion. Thank you very much for joining us today. I, of course, wish you and the company nothing but the best for the future, and hope to get an update from you sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. We need to celebrate the grand opening for our plant.
Looking forward to that.
Coming soon.
Thanks a lot. That's it for today.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wait, before you sign off, there are a few in-person events I will be presenting at soon. On February 5th, 2026 in Stuttgart, on February 11th, 2026 in Cologne, and on February 12th, 2026 in Frankfurt, all of course in Germany. Please consider registering, and if you do, please reach out to let me know. There's nothing like meeting in person. The registration links are in the show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends and family. Also, please interact with me by liking my episodes, or better yet, leave a comment and review. I would love to hear from you. And yes, I personally read all the feedback and comments. Now, this time for real. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.